Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu brown belt, a two-time world Nogi champion, and a two-time Gi Pan Am champion. She is an event director extraordinaire, as well as one of the newest realtors to Remax. She is the one and only Megan Parducho. Megan, what's going on?
Hi. Happy New Year's Eve.
Happy New Year's Eve. This is the final According to Woods podcast of the year. And I thought it would be pretty apropos because 2020 has been a crazy year. But when I formally met you, it was actually at Submission on the Shore back in Long Beach on the Queen Mary. And that was the last event of any sort in combat sport in California for the year before COVID hit.
Almost. Combat Jiu-Jitsu was right after that.
What? Oh, yes, it was. Wait. Yes, it did.
It was March 8th, I think.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So there we go. So one of the you were last, and I was there too. Yeah. So there we go. Yeah. But so I thought it would be kind of fun because obviously COVID kind of hit and what have you, but you were undeterred, right? Because not only did you basically plan for events, namely, combat jiu-jitsu in Mexico and what have you, but you also got your realtor license, which is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say I was undeterred, or is that the word you said? I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that. There was a lot of stuff that happened, but pretty much just had to adapt to everything. Yeah. There was even a bunch of events planned for March, April, May that I'd already begun a lot of work on, and then they all got canceled. So I didn't get paid for any of those. I gave all my time, but didn't get paid. But that's just how it goes. And I wasn't, hurting for money or anything. So I probably could have asked to be compensated, but I just figure I'm sure other people need it more than me. So I didn't ask. But
well, that is so kind of you to put it very simply.
Yeah, do what I can.
Now, obviously, jiu-jitsu has become a big part of your life, right? In many ways, both personally and professionally. So how did the start? How did you get your start in jiu-jitsu and combat sports?
Working or training?
Did one come before the other?
Yeah. So I started training, I think it was 2010, but I wasn't training a lot because I was going to college. And at the time, I had this goal in mind of I want to graduate college in 3 years. So I was taking a lot of classes. My first year of college, I actually completed 2 years during the first academic year. So I was training, but it was just very, very sporadic. But I still loved it at the time. And then actually, I don't know if I've ever shared this, but the person who helped me into the world of combat sports was actually a girl named Madison Bell. She had a friend named Spencer Lazara. I don't know if...
Yes, MMA News. That was one of the first MMA pieces of content that I ever subscribed to on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, it's crazy remembering this. Okay, yeah. So I was in college, and then, when you're in martial arts, you kind of don't shut up about martial arts, right? Mm-hmm. So I was talking about it a lot in school, and Madison was in one of my classes, and she mentioned, I have this friend, Spencer, who does MMA news, because we were studying journalism, public relations and journalism at CSU Northridge. But so she introduced me to him. He took me on as an intern, and then with him, I would go to different MMA events. So it was all MMA at first. I wasn't even in the jiu-jitsu world at all yet. Oh wow, it's so crazy to remember. Yeah, I wasn't even in the jiu-jitsu world at all yet. And I went to the Bad Beat shows. Do you remember those?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Bama USA Bad Beat shows. So I went to those at the Commerce Casino. I think Spencer also, so even though I didn't work with Spencer on those shows, he just made the connection, and then I did pretty much volunteer stuff. But that got my start in the MMA world. And then I met a bunch of people from there, networking. So I got brought onto other shows or other things. And then, wow, that's so weird. Sorry, I'm still tripping out on it. I forgot about that. But yeah, and then I actually don't know why I stopped doing MMA stuff. I don't remember, but I even got to go to like when UFC did their like fight week thing.
Yeah.
That is, I forgot what it's called, like International Fight Week.
International Fight Week, yeah, absolutely, the big one in Vegas.
Yeah, I think it was the weekend that Chael Sonnen was fighting Anderson Silva the second time.
That's a big one.
Yeah, and so I got to go there as part of the press. We got to go to like media stuff. I didn't get to go to the actual event, but I got to go to the big fancy weigh-ins and all that stuff. And I think I was 19 or 20 at the time. So I was in Vegas, but couldn't go anywhere. And I ended up getting into like one of the clubs because my teammate and friend Vince Pichel was there too. Like I ran into him at the Mandalay Bay Beach, I think. I don't know. I ran into him somewhere, and then he was like, "Oh, come." So we like did the thing where he has a stamp, and then you lick it, and then you go like that. Yeah. So I was able to go in, but like, wow, what a crazy time. Yeah, I like watched the fight on the Mandalay Bay Beach by myself. It was really cool. But oh wow, memories. Yeah, and then I transitioned into jiu-jitsu somehow, working tournaments. Started as like volunteering for some of them. Other ones were like $100 a day positions. And then, the more you talk to people, the more you grow. And I didn't expect to do this ever. I remember when I first started, people were saying like, "Oh, you should do your own tournament. You should do this. You should do that." And at the time I was like, "No, I'm studying in school to go get my big girl job, work in an office, have that 9 to 5, have that stable life, and I don't want anything different." And then, yeah, everything is 1,000,000% different now. I am not working in an office. I have no stability in terms of income, but man, what a crazy time.
But loving life is what you're doing, Megan. And you mentioned your teammate, Vince from Hell Pichel, right?
Mhm.
But one of your other teammates, and he is my co-host. I'm his co-host, really. But Pius Lobo, better known as Voodoo Maximus, is chiming in saying Peterson Grappling PG. So shout out to Brian. Yes, and shout out to Peterson Grappling under the great Brian Peterson. So just saying.
Yeah. Man, with Pius, that guy, he's so good. It's not fair. He'll show up
Yes.
after like forever of not training and then just wreck us all.
Yes, and I mean, not just the ability, the physical ability, the fact that he won a title despite starting MMA at 35, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I call him the king of Nokia theater because obviously he fought for U of MMA, was a former U of MMA champion, and his promos would literally close the show. So he is yes, absolutely. So he is the undisputed king of Nokia theater.
Yeah. Did you see why he stopped fighting? I just saw that.
Yes, that spinning back elbow at gosh, I forgot that it's that big highfalutin show. It's in Hollywood with a $500 a seat, a plate deal. Smash Global is what it's called. There we go. Yeah, and that was there, and he just knocked the holy hell out of somebody. So again, I'm his co-host. He is not mine. So I always want to be on the good side of one feet of the Maximus for sure.
Same.
Yes. So I mean, I got asked. So was you kind of interning for Spencer and going to all these shows? Was this kind of concurrent to you actually practicing jujitsu yourself?
Yeah, but it still was, I wasn't very serious about it just because of college and then trying to intern, and then I had other internships at school, and then I think I was working a lot too at a breakfast restaurant, making things lunches. But yeah, so I was training a little bit, but it was very, very, very sporadic. Even during working those events, I didn't start like really training until I think it was September 2012 or something. It was actually once I had my first office job, just because then my schedule became so clear every single day. It was the same thing every single day. Go to work, drive straight to the gym, pretty much just that was the daily routine.
Damn, that's I mean, again, that's a treacherous schedule for anyone to keep, especially somebody so young. But again, the willingness to want to succeed in whatever it is that you did. That's to me, I think that's a prevailing kind of factor in your success. So I think it's great, especially going into 2020, where a lot of people are looking for that and what have you. I think it's great to have you on because you kind of encompass a lot of that.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, that's what's kept me going in a lot of it. Even with the school, I don't even like have a specific reason why I wanted to. It was just, okay, I have a goal in mind and I'm going to do it. So sometimes
There
the
you
goal
go.
change, but you know.
Yeah, but and then to be absolutely unrelenting in your pursuit and attainment of said goal, which just had bulletproof troop on, and that's all. That's all that dude is about. He literally was. And speaking of like lights out extreme fighting, where it was March 13th, where it was supposed to happen. Friday, March 13th, Friday the 13th, and I was on my way to the weigh-ins, and where he was supposed to headline a heavyweight title fight against Mike Demon Tiger Quintero, he's a black belt in Jujutsu in his own right, and I get to weigh-ins and there's nobody there, absolutely nobody there, and it's crazy. But again, you Bulletproof Truth, those, the fact that you guys have a goal in mind, you set a goal for yourself. Sometimes some people would say it's unattainable, you can't do that, whatever, and you're like, nope, nope, not here. You're like, I'm going to do exactly what I set out to do and more. So it's incredible.
Yeah. And I think it's okay too if goals change. I think that's one thing that people don't want to accept because they might call it quitting, but I feel like if you just call it quitting, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. But if you really know that your priorities change, your goals change, your life is just different. I don't think that I gave up on a corporate life just because I decided to quit because I didn't like it. I think it's okay to go in different directions, but when you do have a goal that is your priority, yeah, I don't think stopping is an option.
No, absolutely. Wise men, one of my friends, one of my mentors, Vince Moore, said, a plane could essentially go from point A to point B 1,000 times and not take the same route twice. So, with that being said, life, much like that pilot, is about course correction, right? And adapting to such things. So, that's again, it's something that you encompass.
Thanks.
Now, so a lot of people who train jujitsu, right? I guess I know I had my moment, even though I'm a no stripe white belt and have trained with like Matt and Joe Baker, John Jock, black belts. That husband and wife, and that's how I started. Then going to Fight Academy with Savant Young and Herb Dean and Heinrich Wasmer in Pasadena. but I'm still like my consistency is the shits, right? So I'll do 6 months hardcore and then take 2 years off, and then yeah. But even still, right? Um, Everybody gets the bug, right? When you're in this kind of jujitsu family and community, it's not just the training, it's not just the people, but like it encompasses your life. It
Yeah.
becomes a bug, right? So when did it kind of bite you? When did the jujitsu bug bite you? Really?
Jiu-Jitsu specific, it was when I started training Jiu-Jitsu like seriously in I think maybe it was 2013. I can't remember. I'd have to look at my resume to know when I started that job. But that's when it was. It was so I was just doing everything. I really liked all of it. And then there was just one time where I injured my foot from catching an elbow. Like I was throwing a kick, caught an elbow, and then my foot was hurt. So I couldn't put any weight on it, which meant I really couldn't do any type of like stand up. So then I went to a jiu-jitsu class, and then me and this guy, Leonard Avila, I think is his last name, but his first name's Leonard. I don't know, it was the end of class, and then we sparred, and there was no timer. I think we ended up rolling for like 45 minutes or something, and then that was when I was like, oh, I'm gonna focus particularly on jiu-jitsu. Maybe when I get my purple belt, I will go into stand-up or MMA or whatever else it is. Um, and then also my coach was doing a tournament like 3 weeks later, and I really wanted to do it, and so I did it, and I got bronze. But yeah,
So wait, you said like go into MMA. So was part of the path, at least the plan then, to start fighting in MMA competition?
So from the beginning, like the very beginning, I did want to be like an MMA fighter. I mean, I didn't know much about it, but I really wanted to do it. And then as I was training jiu-jitsu, I still wanted to do it. I was like, I still stuck to my, okay, when I get my purple belt, that's when I can start considering it. And then as I got my purple belt, I just got a lot busier in general with like life. So martial arts kind of took, like me practicing martial arts kind of took a back seat to work and family and just, whatever else it was. So I kind of didn't think about it for a while. And then you start seeing all those. Oh, I really wanted to fight in the UFC. I was so stoked when they had a weight class, or I mean, a women's division. Um, so that's what the plan was. And then, yeah, I didn't train as much. Then I started seeing all these articles about, what's it called? CTE or something? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
The
CTE. Yeah, head trauma.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just the trauma issues, and I decided that's not gonna be the path that I take anymore. Like, I think that it's okay. This is another thing about goals. I really wanted to be an MMA fighter. I really wanted to have at least one pro fight just to say I had a pro fight, but then I don't wanna be putting my effort I don't wanna be risking anything for something I don't even want for me, just for, like, a title. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, now it's like for a while, I was like, "No, I still wanna do it," but I didn't wanna do it. I just was, like, telling myself, "But that's what you wanted, and now you have a brown belt or a purple belt, now you can do it." So I was telling myself that for a while, but now I'm just like, I have no interest in getting hit in the head, seriously. Maybe, like, sparring in the gym, but doing an actual MMA fight is not in my plans.
Yeah, I mean, considering you're a college educated person, somebody that has many wits about her, right? So to literally deconstruct on a very rapid level, some of that kind of mental aptitude, I would think would be a deal breaker. And no, none other than like Bryant Gumbel on Real Sports, like their season opener of this season, they had Ian McCall and the boogeyman Dean Lister, and they were taking like psilocybin because their effects of CTE had been so great that like that was the only kind of thing that helped, that gave them perspective, that they were on the brink of like wanting to end their life. And so again, head trauma, that's a very serious thing, so kudos to you to realize that pretty early on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a sport that you can do half-heartedly, I think. I mean, it's a sport you can train half-heartedly, but it's not one that you can compete in. You can't go in there, go into a cage, the other person's trying to take your head off, thinking like, "I don't even wanna be here," you know? Probably won't be safe. And that's where I would've been at, not safe.
No, 100%. And again, when you're kind of half in, half out, it's something. If you're like maybe in tennis, it won't be as physically demanding or detrimental or whatever, but you're getting kicked and punched more like harder than even people throw balls in particular sport, baseballs and footballs and everything. And the way that somebody's little like appendage, their foot and their fists fly at you, good lord. Like, and that's kind of like my covering of it. Like, I love it. I love all of it. I love pro wrestling. I love MMA. I love boxing. I love all of it. But it's still weird to me that people would just like, yeah, I'm signing this and this is what we're gonna do. And
You
have
know what?
careers doing that.
I used to this now I feel just so old. I used to, like, you would see the blood or the this or, just the injuries and stuff and be like, "Whoa, that's so cool. Look at that guy's gash on his face," you know? Or like, "Look how much blood is everywhere. How awesome. Look at this fight. It's the best fight ever." Now I'm just like, "Oh my god." And, when I would compete in jujitsu, like, and what my mentality was for wanting to do MMA, I was like, I want to go and oh, it sounds weird. I was like, I want to go hurt someone. I don't want to just like, I want to win, but I want to make them. I don't know how
Hey,
to explain it. It was like a mental thing. Like I want to get in their head. I want to destroy them in every way possible. Oh man, so strange. Yeah, so that's how I was before. I used to want to like go in and I would think like, "Oh, I'm gonna hurt this girl," like my opponents or whatever, and that was the headspace that I would put myself in, and yeah, how crazy. Not like that anymore. I'm all grown up now.
yeah, I mean, again, course correction, because especially
Yeah,
in your, professional kind of, like your attributes, you're actually an event and fighter advocate, right? An athlete advocate, trying to make sure all of the pieces put together to make a good show and make sure
mhm,
everything is all right. Not just like the fighters, not just the promoters, the people who attend the event, as well as, I mean, even us kind of reporters trying to figure it out. Like,
mhm.
you kind of manage all of that. So again, for you, essentially envelop the just bleed mentality, and now you're the advocate. So, course correction, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So, you're entering this event that your coach has, right? And you take bronze, right? And that is cool, right? And again, for some, the competitors that are in there, I mean, it's probably limitless, and there's a big laundry list. So to get a medal in something that, I mean, 3 weeks before you might have not even done, right? So was
Yeah.
that the catalyst, that and the 45-minute roll with your teammate? Or like, oh, I'm gonna start competing, like this could be a thing.
I think yeah, so definitely the 45-minute roll with my teammate, and then once I did that, I was yeah, pretty much what you said. It was like, "Ooh, that was cool." And so I just continued. I used to compete so much as a white and blue belt. Um, even when I would go like, I would enter as many divisions as possible. So let's say I was already in my weight class, but there's like 2 other heavier weight classes. I think I was like 116 once, and I went against a girl that was 180. Like, I just entered her division because they let me and I wanted more matches, and I think she smushed me. I definitely didn't win that one. I just don't remember how I lost. But, yeah, I used to do all that, and then there was one absolute division I did. It was at the Red Bull tournament, and I was a blue belt, and this girl pulled guard on me, and just the way that we landed, my knee just buckled, and it was, like, super painful. I was, like, just I was in her guard 'cause she pulled guard, and I was just kinda holding her for a second, evaluating, like, "Can I continue, or do I need to, like, just tap because my knee hurts?" Um, I ended up continuing the match, and I almost won. I bet if there was a couple more seconds, I coulda won because I was down by 3, somehow. Maybe she got like a guard pass. Yeah, she probably got a guard pass or something. Then I almost took her back, which would have been 4. But then the time ran out. But anyway, so after that match, I stopped doing absolutes, I think. I got scared to get hurt.
I think that was a wise move. Again, I mean that's a pretty great size disadvantage that you were in. So I'm just saying, and especially where it can have long term reverberating injuries. Again, this like Bushido samurai, kind of space that we get into when we're competing or even rolling, right? We're just like, yeah, I'm going to sacrifice that, and then like. Oh, your knee is literally like kind of a lump, in the X-ray, and you're like, maybe not.
Well, I had an X-ray on my foot once. I think it was like for my foot, not my ankle, but ankle's in there. And then they were like, "Oh, okay, so I see that you broke your ankle once, but that recovered." And I was like, "When did I didn't know I broke it. I had no idea. I don't even know." Yeah, I have no idea. But I broke it once, I guess, and it looks. I guess, broken and recovered.
Wow. I mean, that's cool. You might be Wolverine in your ability to heal yourself. I'm just saying.
Or just young and dumb. Probably that too. More young and dumb.
That too. I mean, it could happen. It could happen. Which your teammate, Voodoo Maximus Palestina Lobo says, "Hey, Megan, I know you love BJJ, but would you consider competing in combat jiu-jitsu?"
I would not consider it. That is a very easy answer. If I wanted to compete in it, I would have had the opportunity November 29th. No, sorry. November 28th, there was the female flyweights qualifier, and there was only 3 girls. So to make it even, they were asking me if I would do it to make it, 4. No. And then we were having some potential passport issues for the female flyweight actual show on December 20th. And Eddie was saying, "Okay, we might have to put you in there." And I was like, "Well, we're not going to be doing that." But we didn't need me, thankfully. But yeah, it goes back to MMA. I don't want to get hit. I don't want to get hit in the face. Maybe I could, I'm not saying body shots are like nothing, but I just don't want to get hit in the face specifically.
Yeah, so I mean, I had been to a couple of combat jiu-jitsu, events, over the course of the years, but I don't think I'd ever been as close as I was in the last one at the Orpheum, right, where it was literal like Elvia versus and I can't pronounce her last name, but against Brooke Mayo, the former first bantamweight California state title holder, and the slaps were so damn hard. I was just like, I think I might have yelped in the back of my throat audibly. I was just like, and I think you might even hear it in a bit of the interview that I did with Luis Quinones of that night. But it was just like,
honor.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. But that was
stayed calm, and then heel hooked her. So good for her. Yeah. Good for both of them.
Yes, good for both of them. But again, I was just like, and kind of, Brooke and I are friends. I literally have the California state title in my trophy case, hers, and she autographed it, and it's cool. But I remember like her crying, and she was just like, she wanted it so bad, and I'm like, you did fucking right. I just right, like you did fucking right. It was amazing, But again, really like good. the way that they like that skin, and again covering MMA and everything, but like the flesh to flesh kind of deal, it reminded me of the first time that I went to a like a lion fight event, right? And again, Muay Thai is a little bit different because again, you don't have anybody wanting to take you down, right? You don't have to worry about a double leg and everything. So they throw everything, like they throw at 120% like leg kicks, and they sound so hard. Well, again, the sounds of that night between Elvia and Brooke were equal to that line fight that I attended. And I'm just makes my hair stand on edge.
Yeah. if you look at some of the footage from the female qualifier, so I'm like, I'm so close that I think I'm like backing up and like kind of hoping that somebody's behind me because there's stairs behind me. So we're just like sitting on the floor on the mat with stairs behind me. And yeah, they were close. And the girl's face was the other way. But for a second, she looked over towards our side and it was all bloody. The whole thing was crazy. And that's the girl that I would have had to go against.
Ooh, and that's that viral video in Mexico, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. You sidestep. You good for you for not saying yes. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No way. I'm not even training right now.
So again, so you're obviously, competing at a white and blue level, but at the same time, are you still like working behind the scenes, kind of coordinating events, like, and was there ever, because I've gotten instances where like people from CAMO, right, the California Amateur Mixed Martial Arts Organization here in California, and they're like, hey, you should be an inspector and everything, and my feeling is like, yeah, I want to compete, and that belt looks cool, or the safety of the fighters look cool, but I also want to get an interview. So that would be like, the line in the sand. So for you, have you ever gotten to a point where like, yeah, I want to coordinate it and making money is cool, but I also want to compete in the event that I'm coordinating? Have you ever gotten to like that weird kind of space?
Yeah, like when I would do the IBJJF tournaments, I was working all of those. That was just like day staff position. It wasn't anything behind the scenes, but those are like long days. Those are from, I don't know, 7 or 8 in the morning until maybe 6 p.m., but maybe 10 p.m., So I did all of those. I like worked most of those and competed in a lot of them at the same time. My coach wasn't very happy about that. He's like, you need to focus. You shouldn't be working it. But I accepted that my priorities were to both work and to compete, So even though I didn't need the money, because I had a full-time job, I didn't need it. I always did this for fun. I never intended it to be my career. So I worked them anyway. I won some of them. And then I also competed at EBI 18, even though I work that event very heavily.
Now, did you get to a point where you, like in that instance where you said you won a couple of matches, but there was like kind of a hand of doubt, like maybe if you hadn't worked it, maybe you would have won more. Have you ever gotten to that kind of like rubber kind of match thing in your mind where the priorities kind of shift and you're like, man, I could have maybe done better in the event if I wasn't working?
I actually never thought about that until you asked, but I would.
I'm sorry.
No, I wouldn't change anything. Like, even though I lost, I think just working these events has changed my life so much. It's not even just about the career. It's about my whole community is the jiu-jitsu community, That was my social life. That was my fun. That was my work. That was, I was doing all of that while I was working a full-time job. And I wasn't just working 40 hours a week. I was working a lot. And then I would still go to work on the weekends for these tournaments. So I think, yeah, so I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't trade the title, or I wouldn't change my experience for the title, because I made so many friends. I had such a great time. And I do kind of think being at those events the whole week or day or whatever was helpful because it put me in the jiu-jitsu mind space. Whereas the days that I didn't work, but I competed, it's like that's not really on my mind, or I'm not there. I'm not feeling the energy. I'm not watching matches. I'm sitting in 3 hours of traffic to go to the venue. And then I'm late because they're running early. So that, so I don't think that I would have done worlds better if I didn't work at those events. But even if I would have, I wouldn't trade it. I had so much fun. They were so fun. It was really hard this year not having those tournaments because I would see people from other countries and other states and other cities more often than I would see like friends that I had, because you're just seeing them at every tournament all the time and you're hanging out with them. If you travel to the tournaments, you're hanging out with them in different cities, different areas. And it's just, yeah, it was so fun.
No, I've got a similar deal where Donna Gonzalez of the 10th Planet and her husband, John, they lived literally like 5 minutes away from me. We lived in the same neighborhood. The only time that I saw them was at events.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
Community. You would never expect it.
Yes, and also a very warm community, right? Because obviously you're being a professional of many trades and occupations, right? So the fact that like to get into particular places, right? People are not championing you to get a promotion over them, right? Like there's a underlying feeling within like the combat sports community where we uplift each other a lot of times, right? We like, you should start a podcast, you should do this, you should do that. We're recommending, or like, oh man, that person that I met like 2 competitions ago, like maybe they would be good here, or I can compete there, or even people that were competing against each other are now training together, right? And in any other kind of like occupation, this wouldn't exist. Like people will sell each other out for a particular position or raise or whatever, but that doesn't happen here. And if it doesn't, it like those people kind of get found out and kind of get weeded out, whether it be their own volition or otherwise.
You want to hear how my start was?
Yes, absolutely.
Not warm and friendly in the slightest. So I started, how do I do this without giving names? Okay, so I started and they were like, oh, there's a women's class. So I went to the women's class and I don't know what it was, but that was like, they were not friendly with me. They were not welcoming. I've seen some of them after like years later and everything is good. So whatever I say doesn't apply after I first started.
Yeah.
But so it was particularly the instructor. She was a black belt, very well-known black belt, and she, like, I don't know, she hated me for some reason. And so I'm not kidding you, everyone was talking crap about me at the gym. And like everyone, no one, I had no friends there, and maybe I had like 1 or 2 friends, but like, for example, let's say you and I were at the gym talking, not during class, just like after class, before whatever. If you or I walked away, just our conversation's done, somebody would come up to you and say like, oh, don't talk to her, and just, stuff like that. And they were pretty rude. They would say, I'm only in the sport because of like, I want to meet guys. And I don't know what makes anyone think that sweating profusely and like getting beat up is like the ideal guy meeting situation. I was just, maybe because people know me now, but I had the same personality. Maybe I was even quieter back then, but I'm just outgoing and I talk to people. And yeah, it happened to be almost all guys at the gym. So people would take that as like, I'm only there for guys. And none of the girls wanted to be friends with me. There was like one girl at the gym that was friendly with me. Her name is Tina Garcia, and she was great. But everybody else, like nobody, after class, people will sit around and just talk. So
Yeah.
after classes, like the women's classes, they would be in their little circle and I would kind of be on the outside, but like trying to be there and trying to participate, and like just completely get shut out. No one would even acknowledge me. So that's what my experience was like for the first, at least the first year or so. And then it also didn't help that I wasn't as serious because I was in college,
Yeah.
So they would talk crap about me like, oh, she doesn't want to be here. She just comes here whenever she feels like it. So yeah, people were super mean back then. And there's things that I just didn't know about like being in martial arts. Like one time I put somebody's blue belt. I was a white belt, and I put somebody's blue belt on who like gave it to me, like we were just messing around. And then I got yelled at about how disrespectful it is, and it's like I can understand if it's disrespectful, but I just like how would I know that I get it, but like if I saw that and I were gonna say something, I'd probably say, hey, that's not respectful to the belt. You should probably take that off. I don't know, but yeah, they were mean. Even up until like purple belt level, this same instructor was covering a class, and just to show that I'm doing my part. I know that you're covering this class. I'm gonna come to it anyway and respect you as the instructor. Nothing. Nothing.
Wow.
Okay. So I'm like, okay, I don't care. Basically in my mind saying like, okay, I don't care that you ignored me. I'm gonna come again and show you like I'm here to learn. I respect you. You're a black belt. It's even worse.
I don't know, man. I would think this class would be like, I mean, good tested it in the Dead Sea because that saltiness ran deep. My goodness.
Yeah. So all the warm and fuzzy stuff that you were just saying, I know that now. And it's still kind of strange to me because I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to that starting. I was never welcomed friendly in a friendly like way. Like I would ask for okay. Last thing about
Yes. No, please. Let's go.
so I was a white belt and I had a competition. And I don't know, everybody just talks about like cutting weight or whatever, right? So like I signed up for the weight class. I was like a few pounds over, so it wasn't like I was dramatically cutting weight. I was 3 pounds over maybe, but I've never cut weight before or just never tried to. And then so I was asking a friend, and the friend was like, "Oh, hey," to the black belt person. What do you wait, what do you say? Something about like, "Oh, Megan's trying to cut a couple pounds for the competition this weekend. Do you have any suggestions?" And she was like, you can just get better at jujitsu." And she walked away. I was a white belt. I was like a 19 or 20, well, maybe 21 or 22. But I was just like a young white belt. One of my first competitions that were like not an in-house competition. It was a little bit bigger than an in-house. It was an NABJJF tournament. So
Oh, that's unfortunate.
that was my start in the sport. But
Oh,
I'm still here.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I would have, and it's a weird one, right? Because I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's a weird plight that the gym owners, whether it be jujitsu or MMA or what have you, gym owners, because like you have to make money, right? For the school to exist, you have to make money, right? But then there's a part of your personality in some where you're like, I'm not going to teach him all of the tricks, right? And with all the tricks, you're not going to get a proliferation of your school and your students, right? And thus your business plan is kind of gone to shit. So I mean, it's a weird one when you have those types of mentalities.
She wasn't the owner, let me tell you that.
Okay, good.
One of the instructors, but yeah. We're past that now. Past that, I'm a brown belt. I'm still in the sport.
Damn right. And I mean, and literally just, I mean, covering all aspects of it, not just as a competitor, but also as somebody who, I mean, very like distinctly putting everything together and making all of the pieces fit, which is, I mean, that's a black belt skill in its own right,
Yeah, I think I have a little more respect now than I did back then. I've earned it. I've worked really hard for it. And none of it was just given to me. I had to work super hard just to be respected as I don't know, female in the sport.
No, absolutely. And maybe, as I say it, maybe some of my my experiences, were pleasant because maybe I'm a male, right? And I haven't been in that situation. So, kudos to you and all of the, the women that help shape our sport, whether it be coaches, photographers, and reporters, and all that, because every bit of it helps, and everybody has a piece to contribute. So again, and thank you for sticking with it, because you're a bright spark in our community, and for you to kind of leave, that would suck, So I'm just saying.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, Colin Crandall of the MMA Power Hour says, question for you, Megan. Other than the host, Adam Woods, oh, no, I'm a no stripe white belt. Thank you. I think Colin Crandall could probably Kimura the hell out of me. But even still, who do you look up to as the best talents in BJJ today?
So this is probably going to sound bad, but there's not really anyone that I look up to like that. I don't know. There's not anyone like in general that I look up to like that. I wish I had a better answer, but yeah.
Well, that's good. Now, I gotta ask, right? And obviously, we're not naming names, right? But is that like maybe like you might have like admired their jujitsu prowess, and then got to meet the person, and then it was like,
No,
not so cool. Okay.
Well, I mean, there's people that I think are really good in the sport. There's like people that, if I see they're on a card, I think that's cool and I want to see clips of it. But if I'm being honest, I don't watch jujitsu that much. So I think that might be why. The only jujitsu that I watch is the events that I work. And I used to work a lot of them, so I would see it all the time. I would see things all the time. I would be there all day, so I just kind of zoned out for some of it. And then the events I work, I've just worked so much that it all kind of runs together. And then now I'm not even working events that much, so I'm not watching that much. But yeah, I mean, there's people that are really, really good. Compete, but there's nobody in the jiu-jitsu world that I think, oh, I want to be like that person, whether it's a guy or girl.
Well, and that's the thing. I love that form of question, like people's why, right? Because that's what's so cool about the combat sports community. You've got people like when I was training at Fight Academy in Pasadena, we had people that literally worked at JPL that would send rockets to the moon, and they would have trouble, with a 1-2 punch combo that Heinrich Wasmer is essentially like, hadn't been to college or whatever. He did it so effortlessly, and and they couldn't get it. So it puts everybody at a level, so that's what I love about it. And everybody's why is completely different. Why, they are a part of the sport, what got them into the sport. There are people that professionally fight, and they didn't watch MMA at all.
Yeah, there's people that have done our events that haven't even seen it.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I'm one of those people.
No,
my coach would always tell me, you have to watch matches, you have to study people, and I'm like, I just don't want to. And like, I'm not going to do so. I know that it could make me better, but like I was saying earlier, I'm not going to do something that I don't want to do. I can understand where I would rather spend my time doing something else, and I'm confident enough to accept that I know what I want, and it wasn't to study jiu-jitsu matches, which maybe I should have. Maybe I would have won more. I don't know, but I don't know. I think if my jiu-jitsu was better, I wouldn't need to study matches. Like sure I could strategize, but I don't know.
No, I mean, and again, you are a brown belt, and for those who aren't in the know, that is one belt away from being a black belt, where that person that was kind of salty towards you was at the time when you started. So I'm just saying, I think you've done pretty well. I'm just saying. I mean, but again, I'm a no right belt that literally in one of the first sessions that I did, I was training with a gal who I outweighed by like about 80 pounds to be conservative about it. And she flung me like 10 feet across the room, landing at the feet of my wife who was watching on a bench, and then sold me like vegan jerky after. Now, I have pride knowing that gal is the Raging Panda, Julia Avila, that is now in the UFC. But even still, I'm just saying, it happens.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's a fun story. And she makes a mean vegan jerky. Her and her husband Cody, they're like engineers, like oil and gas engineers. So they're super super smart. And then they also compete. Yeah, it's crazy. So we have everything for everyone here in combat sports.
Yeah, I think that part's really cool. You just meet so many different people.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Colin Crowder wants to know, do you have any favorite female MMA fighters?
I don't have anyone that I'm so bad. I wish I had better answers to your questions, but whether it's Jujutsu, MMA, or sports, or even just honestly, like in life, there's nobody that I look at and say, I want to be like that. I think I have things that I want to be better at within myself, but what I want isn't embodied in somebody else already that I know about, Like I just want to focus on myself and being better. I don't want to look at somebody else and think I have to be like that. I guess that's not what the question is. The question is just, do I have any favorite fighters? I guess I went on a tangent, but I don't.
Tangents are good. This is a podcast. So there's time to feel. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I don't follow sports, including sports that I compete in. I don't follow them that much, so I don't even know.
But to me, and again, your determination is something that is absolutely prevailing, but also your independent spirit, right? The way to not do things, the way that other people do things, right? And it's indelible, right? So where does this come from?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm totally stumped. I don't know, but that's so correct. Like, I don't really care how everybody else does it to a certain extent. I want to do things that I believe in, and if you don't believe in it, then don't follow me. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. But I am very independent. Oh, okay. I think I know.
Oh.
So, I was like, this is gonna segue a little bit, but I was very, very, very depressed for like most of my life. Like I was on medications, I was going to therapy, I was on a couple different medications. I was going to therapy, I was going to psychiatrist because of the medications. There was times where they were considering hospitalizing me. Like it wasn't good. And that was for most of my life, yeah. And then, but because of my age, I was on my dad's healthcare plan. And so that was covering a lot of the mental health care. And then once that stopped, I think I could have paid out of pocket, or we could have paid out of pocket, I don't know. But once my mental care wasn't being covered anymore, I literally just stopped everything cold turkey. I still had medications left over, but I didn't take them. I obviously stopped going to therapy and the psychiatrist, and I just decided to fix myself on my own and just change my mindset. And I think that's what it was that, yeah, now that I think about it, that's probably what it is that made me so independent and made me realize that I could literally do anything that I want to, anything that I put my mind to, I can do, because I was in such a bad place for so long. And I don't know why. It's not like I had a bad like family life. I didn't have bad situations. It was just I'm sure it was purely chemical. Yeah, and then I just changed my whole mindset, and from there I recovered, and you go through phases, but it's never been at that level that it was before. I've never gone back to therapy. Not that therapy is a bad thing, but just like feeling like I need it so desperately, you know, feeling like I needed those medications, feeling like I needed somebody or something or anybody else. Once I recovered myself, I just knew that I could, figure out anything else because that was just the hardest thing. That's probably the hardest thing to get through, and then realizing that you can do it yourself without medications. Um, when you were on them, like it's not like I just wasn't on them. I was on them. I was on I think 2 of them. Yeah, that's probably why now I'm super independent.
Well, I mean empowerment of self, that's amazing. Which I gotta ask, like, what age were you when you had the epiphany?
It was the first year of Obamacare because that's when the change was with my dad's health insurance. I don't remember what year that was, but I was.
That was probably like 2009 or 10, something like that.
Oh,
Because
actually, yeah, it must have been.
the second run.
It must have been to 2010 or later because
Okay.
I remember when I was in college, I was still going to therapy and stuff.
Wow.
So it might have been. I don't even know. But 2014, 2013, I don't know, 2012.
Damn, that's.
More of my life was spent depressed than happy.
Well, I'm glad that you're out of it, and especially, let's address the elephant in the room. 2020 has probably been one of the most catastrophic events in terms of, people's mental, wellness, right? Because I mean, if you're just hanging on for a particular relationship or the love of jujitsu or your occupation or the pay that you got, all of that vanished, right? So in those formative years that you were experiencing some of your lowest of lows, do you think that might have prepared you to weather the storm that was 2020?
Yeah, I think recovering from that is what helped me weather it. But like, if I'm being honest, all the stuff that I lost wasn't difficult. It wasn't different. I mean, yeah, I missed like working. I love working. And then on top of that, I wasn't going to make any income. And then on top of that, can't train. And then on top of that, you can't go hang out with friends. And then you can't travel. So, like, none of that was difficult. Sure, I miss some of those things. But, once I lost the events, I started studying for my real estate exam. Once I don't know, once I lost my income, I started figuring out other things. Um, But yeah, it wasn't difficult dealing with everything lost in 2020. Thankfully, like I haven't had any of my family members go through difficult times. I haven't gone through difficult time myself in terms of losing things from COVID. The only thing that was hard this year was I had a boyfriend and then we broke up. And that was like everything else I could deal with. So when you say like, oh, you're only holding on because your boyfriend, I wasn't in that stage of like, I'm only here because of him. But when I lost everything in March, I was like, oh, well, it's okay because we have each other. And then that disappeared. And I went from spending like every single second of my life with somebody for a year and a half to like now being not stuck. Yeah, I guess feeling stuck and isolated in my room with no one. I didn't want to reach out to friends. I didn't want them to know I was sad. I didn't want to reach out to family. Eventually, like I had to because it was a lot. But yeah, so that was the hardest part.
Well, again, I think, well, and especially, to be able to bear it, so publicly. Again, that is a testament of your strength and resolve, whether you know it or not. So again, I can't thank you enough for doing this. But I have to ask, right? So obviously you are somebody that is pretty much punk rock. Like, you're so independent, you're so virtuous and what have you. So I want you to get some shout outs out of the way to people that have helped you both professionally and personally to help you get to where you are today.
Um, I for first, maybe I'll save that for last. So I want to thank everybody that's given me an opportunity to work in the sport. Everybody who had, I guess, not even just in the sport, but in general, everybody who believed in me, because obviously when you're depressed for most of your life, you don't believe in yourself. So just knowing that people actually believed in me was a huge deal. So I'm super thankful for all those people. The people that hired me. Sean Megami hired me for Dream. I don't know if you've heard of the Dream Jiu-Jitsu tournaments, but I can't wait for
Yes,
those.
absolutely. Those
Yeah,
belts are amazing. I want to compete.
yeah. And then Victor Davila and Eddie Bravo for giving me the opportunity to work for EBI in combat jiu-jitsu. That's, I feel really, really proud to be part of those, especially, when I watch back the highlights or the events or whatever. I honestly look at some of the things that I've done in my life and think, like, how did I even get here? Like, I'm so thankful to be here. Um, I had some friends that really helped me through the the times that I was struggling really hard with the breakup. But I don't want to name names because if I forget anyone, that'll be bad. But thank you
Right.
to all the people. But mostly, I want to shout out my family. I'm super, super close with my family. We've been really close for the last several years, but this year has, like, I think we've gotten so much closer. And I've just learned from my relationship with other people and from hearing stories from other people. I've just really, really learned at the age of 28, 29 how amazing my parents are and how great they raised me. Um, you like take all that stuff for granted. You think, like, this is normal, right? What I'm dealing with, or not dealing with in a bad way, but where I'm at is normal. The values I was brought up with are normal. The independence, the go-getter, the ambition, that's all normal, right? And I've learned from meeting so many people and being close with people that that's not how it is. And yeah, my parents just, they they gave me every single thing that I needed, a lot of things that I wanted too, but they also made me work for things that I wanted too. Like, they didn't just let me be a bum, they just gave me really great values. And I think about it almost every single day, how thankful I am to have parents who were great parents, even though they were 20 when they had me. And I might have been a handful when I was young. But yeah, my parents are great. And my sister, but you know.
Well, shout out to all of them because again, you are a shining example of their teaching and parenting, and it you are essentially the votary of their legacy. So kudos to all of them. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Now, for those who want to also. I mean, you're doing so many things. Event coordinator extraordinaire, a realtor, a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu brown belt, right? So to find out the life and times of Megan Parducho, where can people find you on social media?
They can find me on Instagram at Megan Parducho. Um, I post a lot on there, probably too much on stories. Probably way too much, but whatever. I share all this stuff hoping that it, like, could help somebody or make them smile or whatever it is, So no shame. I'm going to be posting as much as I want. And then if you know me personally, I will add you on Facebook. If I don't know you personally, I probably, won't add you. That's a little bit more people that I know.
Personal. Yeah.
So yeah, Instagram at Megan Parducho, or if you are in the SoCal area looking to buy or sell your house, you can email me at movewithmeganrealty@gmail.com. But
That is I think it's absolutely great, and a very, very good segue. That was impeccable. That was impeccable. But again, thank you, Megan, for joining us here at According to Woods. We wish you a happy New Year, and thank you guys for ending your year here at According to Woods. I can't thank you enough because we've grown this thing exponentially since July, and it's crazy to see how big it's gotten. But if you haven't already done so, we warmly encourage you to go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And Megan, I mean, you're subscribed, right?
I am subscribed. I am.
Dang right.
I had to think about it. I am subscribed.
Dang right. Yes, Megan subscribed. I'm subscribed because why wouldn't I? But if you don't take our word for it, here's pro wrestler Zeta Zhang.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure